it's obviously something that's going to be on everybody's mind. You'll
Yeah.
delve into it however much you're comfortable with. Friend of the show, Kayla Asada, wants to know what's next. You're going to run for Congress. Say, who knows? But obviously, what is the here and now? Basically, the next, the 2022 plan, if you will.
The 2022 plan is to continue to learn and grow, to teach other people. I am excited that we have successfully built an infrastructure in Buffalo that can successfully challenge the establishment. So folks who want to run for school board and city council, I'm looking forward to supporting them. And, we'll see going into 23 and 24 what the vibe is like. I am not opposed to running again, but I am not interested in being a perennial candidate. I like to do things that I'm successful at and effective at. So if we get there and the timing is right, then I would definitely consider running for mayor again, or maybe even a state seat, or maybe Congress. Why not?
Yeah, well, absolutely. But I agree. It has to be strategic. People think it's just, you just do it. Well, not if you don't see something has significantly changed from the last time that would make the results be different. Like you have to use what you got and learn from it, which means not doing something if it doesn't make sense to do it at that time. I mean, and timing is very important. It really is. Everything is timing. The fact that you're helping other people is so amazing. And that's, is there an organization?
Yeah, we wouldn't expect anything
else. But is there an organization that people can check out or follow, or whatever it is that you're doing to help other candidates?
Yeah, I am. I'm very involved with the Working Families Party. The Working Families Party was a very early endorser. They lended a ton of capacity and support to the campaign all along the way. So I'm helping build the Working Families Party here in Western New York and in New York State. I believe in the mission and in the vision. I think it is a super involved model, because every member gets a say in the endorsement process. It's not just a benevolent few who get to choose who we endorse. I think that's a very interesting model. But in Buffalo, I'm around, right? I'm out, I'm in the streets, I'm in the grocery store, and folks who want to have a conversation with me, I'm always open to that.
Yeah, you are a very visible presence.
I think one of the reasons you did lose is I do think that a lot of the people that got drawn into this, obviously there were, it's the same thing that happened to Nina in Cleveland. They poured millions and millions of dollars to basically drag every, Tom, Dick, and Harry out to go vote.
Conservatives.
At the last minute.
They're scaring them.
They didn't know who the candidate was.
Wait, he was giving out stamps.
Yeah.
Okay, which, by the way, I question.
It's a form of ballot harvesting.
I question the constitutionality of stamps for write-ins. And I mean, not that this is like any hill you want to go down or anything, but like that just is ripe for some sort of challenge. That does not feel right to me. Granted, we have a very, very right-leaning judiciary right now, so the result of said thing might not be great. But I really do. I am saying this now, so 20 years down the road, I question the constitutionality of stamping for write-ins.
Well, not only that, but we were just mentioning about the fact that dominoes have to, fall on the chessboard, so to speak. So that way it is feasible and viable to actually run, depending on the seat, circumstance, all that.
Yeah.
I would assume you probably heard that Sheila Sherflewis McCormick.
Sheila Sherflewis McCormick.
All right, so I didn't say it right. Okay, I never say it right.
No.
She is now going to be the next congresswoman in Florida's 20th congressional district, and she is a non-corporate candidate, and she is somebody who is obviously very friendly and cordial with Jen, and that does make a big difference. But the person who she defeated by 6 votes.
Oh yeah.
This is a gentleman who is known for skirting the line, much like,
how like you've got your local players in your county and your city politics that just sort of own everything, and they somehow manage to always get the vote
Buffalo.
in.
Well, think of it as the Buffalo Mafia.
Yeah,
basically like
that's this person, and so now he's suing her.
She's not a legitimate winner,
right?
She, this, and I have no doubt that if you won, especially by a thin margin, Brown would have pulled the same BS.
They would have come after you. Like they wouldn't, right. It wouldn't have been, they wouldn't have gone away.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. And I'm pretty sure that they were expecting me to do a similar thing. But I maintain that I'm going with the will of the voters, even if those voters are conservatives and Republicans.
Yeah.
And one day more footage of election day is going to come out, and if you could see the gauntlet that people had to walk through in order to get to the polling locations. I
Of
mean,
course.
there were tents and tables and people yelling at every single polling spot. There were people walking people into the polling location. There were so many nefarious and violations going on. But from the perspective of a campaign and a candidate, there are only so many fights that we can engage in at once, right? And I was dependent upon our board of elections, our district attorney, our state attorney general to step in, and people seemed to just be perfectly okay with what was going on. So, we'll continue to work for fair elections, but I think that the biggest takeaway, the biggest lesson from this election was we have to get our people out. We can't rest on our laurels, and I was very cautionary after the primary, saying we can't rest. We haven't won yet. We got to keep going, keep going, keep going. And the initial analysis of the results was that Republicans turned out. The turnout for Republican voters was plus 20 percentage points than in 2017. Not to mention there was also a very contentious sheriff's race where there was a Black woman running for sheriff against a Republican, and the Republican won. So we have to do a better job as Democrats and as progressives, just making sure that our people get out to vote. Tweeting is cool, but voting is much more effective.
Twitter is not real life. I think people really need to learn that. That's one of the hard lessons about so much of what went on. But they can be it can be very helpful, but it could also be very detrimental. We saw the nihilistic left movement when Nina was running for Congress, and people saying, don't help her, she's not doing enough, and this and that, and people getting on you because you're running in the Democratic Party. It's
as if there are so many other better options that we have to work with.
I think people need to understand that it's not a question of you wanting to run in the Democratic Party. It's that you have to run in the Democratic Party. If we had options, I have no doubt that people would be more open to the idea of having ranked choice voting, open primaries. New York, much like Florida, is a very strict state to vote in. New York's got a lot of good things going for it, but New York is just as it's maybe not as gerrymandered as Florida, but it's still pretty bad. And the closed voting is really, really tough. And like you said, one advantage that New York State has that Florida does not have is that it has an extension of a true progressive grassroots movement within the Democratic Party, which is the Working Families Party. We do not have that here in Florida.
No.
And that's one of the difficult things that we have to deal with. But what is potentially going to be big is ranked choice voting being on the ballot next year.
Obviously, that could help for sure.
And what we talked about with you the last time you were here, especially if you had the bully pulpit, the power of the mayoral seat in the second biggest city in New York, is the ability to really push the New York Health Act in 2022, which is something that we're huge advocates for. Is that something that you see yourself, fighting on the front lines for? And are there other potential ballot initiatives, if you will, that New York might see next year that could be big?
Yeah, the New York Health Act is huge. Actually, when I jump off here, Chapo Trap House is in town live.
There you go.
We've got a bunch of folks down right now that are spreading information about the New York Health Act. Good cause eviction is definitely high up on my list, my personal list of priorities, and also a more transparent and participatory budgeting process, especially as we look at American Rescue Plan funding, bailing out Buffalo, making sure that those investments are made in communities and at the neighborhood level where it's going to be most beneficial to those who have been most greatly impacted by COVID-19 and the pandemic. But I think that, if anything good could come out of a loss, is that I still have an audience. I still have a platform. And when it's time to talk about issues, folks are going to listen. And I have, 1,000 volunteers who are still in our Slack channel waiting to be activated. And we're going to make really good use of that. And we're going to highlight every step of the way Byron Brown's Buffalo, and remind people of what should be and what can be when we continue to fight on all levels.
See, and that is transforming politics into service. Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.